you filled Trafalgar Square 2,000 times over, you'd have something like the population of Britain, more than 50 million. At Somerset House, where the records of births, deaths and marriages are kept, you'll also find the details of the nation's numbers. Every 10 years, since 1801, there's been a national counting of heads, except during the war in 1941. The questions asked have been varied, but in the main they've been concerned with age, sex and whether you've been married. Here, under the direction of the Registrar General, Mr. Michael Firth, and his staff, every detail of the 1961 census was worked out. 3 years of planning went into the operation. Register offices throughout the country were used as local headquarters, where an army of 80,000 enumerators were instructed how to issue census forms, how they should be filled up, and when they should be collected. Each enumerator was given a district of between 600 and 700 people. Their first job? To distribute the forms to every household. Top of the list for the registrar at Westminster's Caxton Hall was Buckingham Palace. He went there himself. Most people live in places that are easy to reach, so the work of most enumerators was not too difficult, though sometimes they had quite a bit of explaining to do. But in coastal districts, they had to find the families who live on the water. In quiet country villages, everyday jobs were interrupted while questions were asked and answered. Sometimes there were unexpected hazards to be faced. No, cattle weren't counted, but some farmers still had to be convinced that it wasn't all a lot of bull. No place was too remote. The census reached out to encampments deep in the New Forest, to people spending the night away from home, or arriving in Britain from abroad. Long-distance lorry drivers were reminded to fill up the forms distributed to their homes. Crews of liners in dock were counted. So were all the passengers arriving on census day. Lighthouse men were not forgotten. Their forms were collected by tenders from Trinity House. The count was not restricted to British subjects. It included everybody in Britain at midnight on census day, because no matter what their nationality, they were all part of the population. Forms were printed in many languages. Then began the enormous job of dealing with the returns, and this is how it was done. First, a report card was sent in by each enumerator giving a preliminary total of the number of forms he'd collected. The forms themselves followed. They were all sent to the census headquarters on a wartime barrage balloon station at Titchfield in Hampshire. To make the job simpler and completely accurate, the information on each census form was recorded on a small card by punching holes in it, in a sort of code. In the past, it's taken as long as 7 years before all the results could be made available, and planners in government departments and industry are always waiting to know them. So, to speed up the 1961 census, they used a huge electronic computer, which the Royal Army Pay Corps had installed at Worthy Down to keep soldiers' pay records up to the minute. Some of the punched cards from Titchfield have arrived. Before the computer starts operating, the information on the cards is put on magnetic recording tape in the form of dots of sound. The spools are larger and the tape is wider, but it's the same stuff that's used on home tape recorders. The card reading machine is wired up to read each card with its metal fingers and record what it reads on the roll of tape. Each roll of tape can hold the information from 25,000 cards in the form of magnetic dots. The civilians, as well as soldiers, operate the electric brain at Worthy Down. This tape recorder works on 7 tracks at the same time. The cards are copied at the rate of 4 per second. Finished tapes are taken to the main computer and loaded on 10 high-speed reproducers. These are connected to the master switchboard, which also controls a maze of wiring containing an electronic memory. The controller starts the computer, and the tapes begin to feed in the information from the cards, so that the computer can do its lightning arithmetic. 40,000 calculations a minute, counting up all the people in Britain. Not one is left out. Every man, woman and child in the land is represented by the holes in the cards and the magnetic dots on the tapes. Not only can the computer do the work of many people, but it does it more accurately. This automatic typewriter comes to life when the computer discovers something wrong or comes to the end of an operation. The computer stops instantly if it discovers a mistake in the information it's been given. If it finds an error in the census form, it puts it on a special tape which is played back on this high-speed printer. Errors such as aged 4 and married with 3 children turn up here. The final magnetic tapes, with the census totals, are turned back into punched cards, and then, back at Titchfield, the cards are converted by automatic typewriters into words and numbers. And the totals look like this. Yes, everyone is included. Even babies a few hours old were counted, and a new member joins the population of Britain every 40 seconds. Who knows what the total will be in 1971?